Number 10. Jaden Smith. Jaden started his acting career at a young age thanks to his father, Will Smith, casting him in several roles alongside himself in projects like The Pursuit of Happiness and After Earth. While he may have been thrust onto the silver screen and stayed there for a few years, those few years were spent with a guy who wanted nothing to do with whatever shoot that he was involved with. The characters he played were lifeless, and he tended to be met with mixed results. But since giving the acting gig up in 2013, following the critical bomb that was After Earth, Jaden shifted his focus into something that he actually cared about: music. We caught a brief glimpse of his talents when he collaborated with Canadian artist Justin Bieber to create the song Never Say Never, featured during the end credits of the Karate Kid reboot from 2010. He eventually released his debut album Sire in 2017 and has maintained a successful career in both music and in the world of fashion, with Smith taking the concept to a whole new level. He may be a terrible actor, but at least he seems to have a good head on his shoulders in spite of his questionable upbringing. Number 9. Channing Tatum. Channing first popped into the world of acting in 2006, starring in 2 movies in completely different genres. Step Up was a dramatic piece that centered heavily on the dancing aspect of Tatum's skills, while the comedy film She's the Man, starring Amanda Bynes, was set up to be his big break in the comedy scene, and in a way, it was. You see, Channing is not a good actor. This dude can't make us cry or anything like that. However, much like Seth Rogen, Channing is able to play himself to a T. He found his footing in the world of comedy, and he clearly got the bug after starring with Amanda, as made apparent by his several roles alongside comedy greats like Jonah Hill, Sandra Bullock, and Danny McBride, and just so many more. His career has been slowly gaining traction, with Channing being casted over and over again in franchises like 21 Jump Street, Kingsman, and he's even set to star in a reboot of the beloved drama Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze. Now that one might be a bit of a misstep for Tatum, considering just how serious that role is. Recently, the proof that Channing was not an actor but a mere portrayer of himself was presented to us in the form of Magic Mike 3, a movie chock full of cringy dialogue, character motivation, and a surprisingly stiff performance from Channing. Well, not stiff in every sense. Wink wink. Wait. Hopefully Channing sticks to where he's most comfortable and Sony finally coughs up the cash for a 23 Jump Street. We'll be waiting. Number 8. Kim Kardashian. Now, Kim Kardashian isn't usually associated with the word actor, and it's for a good reason. The Keeping Up with the Kardashians star is an entrepreneur and is described as many people as being famous for simply just being famous, with her antics on her reality show garnering her more acclaim than any other prospects. And thank goodness! Because in case you didn't know, she tried to make a move into the acting world and it was not good. Kim felt that her first role on the silver screen should be in something professional, Oscar-worthy even, which is why she decided to participate in a little flick called Disaster Movie in 2008. Kim played Lisa, which was basically just herself, but she didn't want to say that, and the film parodied basically every type of movie, from High School Musical to The Incredible Hulk to Indiana Jones. Seriously, this thing was all over the place. The movie is one of the most random ones to come out of the parody craze of the early and mid 2000s, but it's Kim's performance that is the most random of them all. She sounds like she's reading her lines off of a cue card, her facial expressions rarely change, and her acting was so bad that, spoiler alert, her character was written out halfway through the movie. Yeah, she gets crushed by an asteroid. Like I said, it's just all over the place. If you need further proof, just ask her ex-boyfriend Pete Davidson, who witnessed firsthand just how dreadful her acting can be. She flubbed lines, she broke character, and overall just seemed like she didn't want to be involved when she hosted Saturday Night Live in 2020. Well, that's on whoever hired Kim Kardashian to host a sketch show. Come on, keep it in the realm of reality, Kim. Number 7. Chris Pratt. Maybe you know him. Star-Lord. Chris Pratt had a massively successful career since first starring as the lovable Andy Dwyer on the hit mockumentary series Parks and Recreation, but since then he starred in blockbuster giants like the Jurassic Park trilogy, the Marvel Universe, and he's even the voice of Mario now. Woohoo! This guy is unstoppable. Well, hopefully that's not true. Chris isn't very versatile in his acting abilities. Sure, he's like a solid performer in the comedy world, but every attempt to do anything beyond that just comes off as out of place and out of character. And if that's not bad enough, there is a good chance that he has some pretty messed up views on the world as well. In 2013, Chris was involved with an organization called the Hillsong Church. This megachurch is known for being notoriously anti-LGBTQ+. While it was only ever rumored that he he was involved with the controversial group, it was confirmed by his ex-wife and fellow actor Anna Faris that he certainly wasn't against their beliefs. She claims that Chris didn't deny specifically being involved with the church until 2022 because he didn't want to throw a church under the bus. Hey Chris, that church might have done some pretty shady stuff, so toss him under the bus like you're trying to skip a rock. Number 6, Dave Bautista. The Big Bad Bautista first speared his way into the wrestling world in 2002, quickly making a name for himself as a force to be reckoned with. In the same form as many fellow WWE fighters like Dwayne Johnson and John Cena, Dave decided to branch out onto the silver screen, making his acting debut in the film The Man with the Iron Fists as the brute Brass Body. A man, well, brass body. He has in case the title didn't give it away, this movie isn't exactly subtle about its material. While this may have kickstarted his career, anyone who has seen Dave act on screen knows that this man has two facial expressions. Gah! And thankfully, that's all you need to play someone like Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, but for more dialogue-heavy roles like Knock at the Cabin and Army of the Dead, yeah, you need some range. While Dwayne Johnson and John Cena have gone on to have relatively fruitful careers in the acting world, Bautista seems to be having some trouble figuring out where exactly he lands in the whole genre thing. My Spy, a comedy, bad acting. Army of the Dead, action zombie movie, bad acting. Knock at the Cabin, suspense thriller, bad acting. You see the pattern? Do you see the pattern here? So far, the only role he has played consistently and without much comment is in Guardians of the Galaxy. But following the third entry, Drax is currently being put on shelf until the fourth movie is ready to be made, which could take years. So maybe we'll get a My Spy 2 or something in the meantime. My Spy 2, I spy with my little eye. Ugh, don't make that. Don't make that.
Number 5, Kevin Hart and other men. Over the last decade, Kevin Hart has become a well-known comedian, and recently he started to get cast in some pretty big movies, which has caused him to step out of his comfort zone. Kevin, who was seen in the film Central Intelligence alongside The Rock, was forced to kiss 2 other actors in a scene at one point, and he wasn't so fond of the incident. After the movie, Hart would say that he didn't like to play characters that were attracted to men because he was really insecure about acting in these types of roles, and that he wasn't able to fit into the character as much as he would like to. In the movie, Hart would have to kiss The Rock, and while the two were able to get their kissing scene out of the way, it seems like Kevin initially didn't want to do it, but after the producers urged him, he was finally able to get past his issues. However, even though this was a big step for Kevin to dive out of his comfort zone, it now seems highly unlikely that Hart will ever accept another movie for this type of role if he knows his character will have to kiss another man, which is something the film industry just needs to get over, because there's nothing wrong with your character having to kiss anyone. It's not you, it's your role. Number 4, Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts. Denzel Washington is a legend on the big screen, but it seems that when it comes to kissing scenes in movies, he's another star who comes with a number of problems. When Denzel was cast alongside Julia Roberts in The Pelican Brief, Denzel would completely out of the blue turn down many of the scenes in the film, especially when it came to the opportunity for him to kiss one of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood, Julia Roberts. Later, Denzel would explain that he wasn't rejecting the kiss because he was against Julia, but it's the fact that he has a huge fan base full of beautiful black women. At these times, these women were being shown on screen as someone who wasn't desirable. So he wanted to maintain his loyalty to his core audience, and this meant that he was going to have to refuse any scenes that made him kiss any woman that weren't black on the screen, which is honestly pretty iconic. It's not really unsurprising that Denzel is one of those actors that directors are happy to work around, and we have to praise him for helping shape Hollywood into what it's becoming today. Number 3, Carey Mulligan and Johnny Depp. Despite being part of the acting business for a number of years, it seems like Carey Mulligan is still like the rest of us, and she gets starstruck when she has to act alongside an actor that she is a huge fan of. And unfortunately for Carey, this is exactly what happened when she was cast alongside Johnny Depp in the film Public Enemies. It seems like Carey was so overcome with her admiration for Johnny that she would become unable to deliver a number of different scenes in the film, and it got to the point that she was so anxious when it came to the kissing scenes that it took her around 16 times to get it right, which probably drove the film and crew nuts. It even seems like a large portion of the scene was removed removed from the film as she was unable to maintain her composure, and the scene didn't seem to work as well as directors thought it would. While we won't be seeing Carrie do kissing scenes with any big time actors anytime soon, it just goes to show that actors are only human too. Number 2, Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte. It seems like when Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte both starred in the film I Love Trouble, as far as the on-screen chemistry goes, the couple completely tanked, but off-screen, the tension between the two stars is said to be unbearable, which made the working conditions too hard to handle at times. The two had a number of different issues working together throughout the film, and the conditions were so bad that it even reached the point where they were forced to film their scenes separately because they couldn't even be in the same room together, let alone beside each other anymore. Then came their on-screen kiss, and it was the one thing that Julia dreaded the most, and when the kiss was finally over and done with, Julia was happy that it was finally out of the way. Now, no one really knows why the two actors clashed so much, but since they both starred in the film I Love Trouble, the two haven't worked together, and it seems like the film has left a lasting impression since Julia is occasionally mentioning him in interviews as one of the worst people she has ever had to work with, which really makes you wonder what really went down between the two. And coming in number 1 today, we have Allison Hannigan and Jason Segel. Allison Hannigan's character as Lily and Jason Segel's character as Marshall have become one of the best loved couples on TV thanks to their roles in the iconic show How I Met Your Mother. But even a couple who has had much chemistry on screen as Marshmallow and Lily Pad, they have had their own fair share of problems when it comes to their kissing scenes. And it seems like Allison Hannigan actually had a huge problem with the scene because Jason Segel smokes, and it's even been said that Allison was forced to kiss her TV husband even after she said he smelled and tasted like tobacco. And it was something that she found off-putting, and honestly I don't blame her. Despite being forced to kiss her on-screen husband, Allison was able to suppress her gag reflex and maintain chemistry she had with Jason on the screen, which is a huge part of the reason why the TV show later became one of the most popular TV shows people still watch today. Allison has had her own fair share of strange kisses over the years, so it seems like for the most part she's become an expert at maintaining her professionalism.
Number 10, Mindy Kaling as Velma. Mindy Kaling is best known for her time as Kelly Kapoor on the hit mockumentary series The Office, as well as her own sitcom titled The Mindy Project, playing a fictionalized version of herself. Most recently, Mindy was cast as Velma Dinkley, the main character of a soft Scooby-Doo cartoon remake. While the original version of Scooby-Doo was aimed at kids and boasted a colorful ensemble of mystery-solving teens in the 60s, Velma just kind of throws all of that out the window, like completely, aiming to grab the attention instead of an older, more mature audience. Not only are all the characters and their personalities vastly different, but Mindy actually opted to have the titular Scooby-Doo just left out of the script entirely. That's right, this show is dogless, and what's worse is Mindy's performance as Velma. The character was originally known for being shy, but a highly integral member of the team. She solved most of the clues and pieced together things that nobody else could. But Mindy's version of Velma is like #woke. She's always pointing out social issues and comparing things to the past to these days. She's constantly trying to bone, which is uncomfortable, always complaining about something that someone else has done. Oh, and by the way, she's terrible at solving stuff? Seriously, it used to take Velma less than 22 minutes to solve a mystery, not an entire season, dude. Not to mention the meta jokes and dialogue. That is this is just oh so bad. Everything about this show was a misstep, and Mindy played a massive part in that. Number 9, Dwayne Johnson as Hercules. Feels like Dwayne Johnson is in at least 2 action movies every year. Whether he's a part of an existing franchise or he's trying to create his own, this man is always busy. So you may be a little confused, like, wait, when did Dwayne Johnson play Hercules in a movie? Well, the answer is in 2014. Johnson co-produced and starred in a film chronicling the adventures of Hercules and his crew, but sadly, Johnson was far from godlike in this one. The character had been significantly altered from the original mythos, and the main change being that Hercules didn't have any powers, like, at all. He's just a super strong guy who's really good at acting and making props. Not only is the character bogged down and powerless, but Johnson's performance felt stale and lifeless. Like he just wanted to get the project over with so he could either start the franchise or just write the whole thing off as an oopsie doopsie. While Johnson isn't really known for his range as an actor, he has been consistently entertaining over the years, so it's really sad to see such a good idea go to waste. Number 8, Jared Leto as the Joker. Jared Leto is just a little kooky. He's been very open in interviews about his extreme approach to method acting. For his portrayal as the Joker in the now inferior version of DC's The End Yourself Squad, yeah that's right, I know the actual word but I can't say it, Leto prepared by making his fellow castmates beyond uncomfortable. Since he was playing a crazy clown crime boss, he felt it was necessary to send a rat to co-star Margot Robbie, who was playing his love interest Harley Quinn, as a gift. He also gifted the entire cast with a desecrated pig that was brought to set by a hired goon. He hid snakes in their dressing rooms and trailers, and he even went so far as to leave his fellow castmates use adult toys and prophylactics. All of this is terrible enough, but what's the worst part? He still sucked. Yeah, the movie as a whole is dreadful, but arguably the worst part of the whole thing is the inclusion of Leto's Joker. He was the first person to don the iconic suit and makeup following the death of Heath Ledger, who was and still is the ultimate live-action Joker. Leto had big shoes to fill, and unfortunately those shoes were filled with poo-poo and set on fire when the film was released. Many people called his portrayal annoying and difficult to watch. Well, thankfully we only saw 15 minutes of the Joker in the final project, when Leto had reportedly filmed an entire solo flick worth of footage. Hey, for the first time, please don't release that hashtag, just no Joker cut. Number 7. George Clooney as Batman. The mid-90s, when things were simpler and people were moving and grooving. I don't know, I was born in 99. Despite that though, I was fortunate enough to grow up with an unhealthy obsession with movies and a lot of VHS tapes that needed to be watched. And one of the worst performances I ever came across was George Clooney as the Caped Crusader Batman in 1997's Batman and Robin. Now, while Chris O'Donnell's portrayal as Robin has been critically panned for years, he did originally star as the character in the film's predecessor, Batman Forever, but the studio decided to keep him around. So, whatever. But they did recast Batman though, which seriously, what was wrong with Michael Keaton? He's still my favorite. The role was offered to George Clooney, who had been coming off a slew of blockbuster hits like One Fine Day and Dusk Till Dawn. At first this seemed like an okay casting choice, but we were quickly proven wrong. Clooney's performance is lifeless. He almost never moves his face throughout the entire runtime of the film, his line delivery is cheesy and not in a good way, and his overall demeanor as the Dark Knight just didn't suit the character. Thankfully, Clooney wouldn't be the last Batman, but he was certainly the worst. Number 6. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Keeping in with our DC theme here, in 2016, the world was gifted with one of the worst DC movies ever made. It was called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. And the plot? Batman and Superman disagree about stuff. During the film's total runtime of 2.5 hours, Batman and Superman actually verse each other for about 10 minutes, but for the majority of the film we actually end up spending a lot of time with OG Superman villain Lex Luthor, played by Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse's performance as the menacing founder of LexCorp was anything but menacing. His portrayal of the character was weaselly and excitable. He kind of reminded people of Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Riddler in Batman Forever. Now throughout the movie we come to learn Lex's plan, but I honestly stopped caring about him the minute that he said his first line. Many fans agreed that the role was highly miscasted and that Jesse would have been much better suited to play a manic character like the Joker or the Riddler, but instead we're stuck with 2 hours of well, that's interesting.
Number 5. Thomas Gibson. Actor Thomas Gibson would find himself being fired from the CBS drama Criminal Minds in 2016 after 11 seasons in the wake of an on-set altercation with a producer. ABC Studios and CBS TV Studios would then come out to say in a statement that Thomas was dismissed from Criminal Minds and that his character's exit would be addressed in the show at a later date. With Gibson's character only appearing in 2 episodes that year, the actor was set to never appear in a show again after the studio conducted an internal review of an incident that alleged Thomas kicked a producer on the show, who TMZ identified to be Virgil Williams. It's also been said in the past Thomas has been known to have violent outbursts. This even included one with an assistant director in 2010 who claims Thomas shoved him. This behavior would then result in the studio to send Thomas to anger management classes. However, after the studio realized even the classes weren't working with Thomas's behavior, they decided just to let him go from the show altogether. Number 4. Mike Myers. While The Cat in the Hat was a children's show we all enjoyed watching come to life, apparently Mike Myers made the reality a daily nightmare for the cast and crew members. Amy Hill would then come out to describe how bad it actually was to work with Mike. Not only would Mike be rude to the cast and crew, but he actually would have them sit around all day waiting for him to show up on set. He also made the set hire someone to follow him around while he was in a cat costume and feed him chocolates. Whenever Whenever he needed the chocolate, the guy would run over and hand feed the chocolates to him on the set. Well, one can only imagine what it would look like to see a grown man in a costume running around a set being fed chocolates by another human being. I can only imagine what the snack wrangler would put on their resume to describe that very job. Number 3. Christina Aguilera. Sources close to the voice production team have claimed that Christina Aguilera was nothing but a woman of people, as she was extremely rude to both the crew and the fans on the show. The sources would also say that Christina didn't want anyone to get close to her. If someone went to shake her hand, she would even yell at them not to touch her. While it's not uncommon for celebrities to want their personal space, Christina was just taking things a little too far when she started to freak out and yell at people to get out of her space, but they were only just standing in the same room as her. The crew also went on to note that it was actually pretty unpleasant to work with the diva, as she was really demanding and told everyone they should respect her. While the crew tried to deal with the situation the best they could, Christina just kept continuing to go on and ruin her image with her resentless, wicked witch vibe. While the crew didn't want to hate her, they would state out of all the artists they have worked with, she seemed to be the least pleasant and compassionate out of all the bunch, and it was disheartening. Number 2. Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is one of the few major celebrities that you rarely hear anything good or bad about, but maybe that's because he's secretly just a wonderful man and likes to keep his bad behavior on the down low. However, many people who have claimed Ben Stiller is great to work with, the Inquirer would draw a portrait that wasn't so full of sunshine and rainbows. While Ben was working on the set of The Little Fockers, he definitely got on someone's bad side, as the cast and crew made some pretty disturbing allegations when it came to his behavior. Apparently, when working on the set, Ben would earn the nickname Little Focker, as he alienated most of the cast and crew on the film in his vain, self-absorbed behavior, and when he wasn't obsessing over his looks, he would be throwing temper tantrums and screaming at the underlings. Ben even would go on to fire an assistant director and demanded star treatment for his entourage, personal chefs, hair and makeup minders, and refused to interact with the underlings unless it was to yell at them. His ego has gone off the charts, and he even went off on a female director for a perceived mistake and screamed at the top of his lungs that he never wanted to work with her again before storming off the set. He then refused to come back until she was gone, and the set let her go the next day and brought in a male replacement to appease Ben. And coming in number 1 today, we have Bill Murray. In April, Bill Murray's film would be shut down for an investigation into his alleged inappropriate behavior. That set a dark tone amid a resurface on set stories that kept Hollywood whispering for decades. In 1991, it said that Disney was even forced to hire bodyguards to protect the cast and crew of the 1991's What About Bob film, after the actor hurled a glass ashtray at Richard Dreyfuss and threatened to throw a female producer across a parking lot. Despite his enduring status of being a beloved Hollywood bad boy, Murray has repeatedly been accused of violently clashing with his co-stars, from butt-heading to inexcusable and unacceptable language on numerous sets, stretching all the way back to the 1970s. It's even been said after multiple outbursts on the What About Bob set, everyone would walk off production and fly back to LA, and the film only resumed after Disney hired some bodyguards to physically separate Bill from his co-stars and crew members in between takes. Coming in number 10 today, we have Nina Dobrev and Ian Somerhalder. Fans of The Vampire Diaries will remember the love affair between Nina Dobrev and Ian Somerhalder. While the series for years led us urging the producers to let the two be together on screen like they were off screen, and somewhere along the lines we finally saw the two who played Elena Gilbert and Damon Salvatore finally get together, and it gave us some strong romance that we wish would last forever. There's no denying that the couple had a huge amount of chemistry when they were finally put together on the screen as lovers, and we all screamed. But following their real life breakup and the fact Ian then quickly went on to get married, it seems like the actors were in a position where they could no longer be in the same room together. Nina even had enough when she left the show before she was convinced to return for a final episode, and the two were then talked into finally kissing on screen one last time, so it could be the perfect ending for their characters. It seems like they would end up locking lips one last time, but it was said to have been one of the most awkward scenes the two had ever filmed together. Number 9. Vanessa Hudgens and James Franco. Seems like Vanessa Hudgens didn't want to kiss James Franco, and when she found out that she had a scripted kissing scene with the actor, she wasn't too impressed with the idea and started to argue that the film should just drop the scene altogether. During an interview back in 2013 while defending her role in the movie Spring Breakers, she would confess that she didn't like kissing her co-star and that she would rather kiss a girl over and over again than have to kiss him again. While the star was fine with kissing her other co-star, Ashley Benson, she would say, "I'd rather kiss Ashley than kiss James, to be honest, because she's a girl and I was close to her and I felt comfortable. So I was like, yeah, I'll kiss Ashley." And to be fair to James, his character was quite an oddball in the movie, so the kissing scene was never going to be a generic one. Perhaps if the two were cast in a different type of movie altogether in the future, he could prove that he was just playing his part, but we all know he wasn't just playing his part. But also at the same time, the movie's commercial was just clickbait and the film was actually really boring and not interesting to watch, but at the same time, Vanessa was getting these weird vibes from James Franco, and that should have been noted. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, we have Reese Witherspoon and Robert Pattinson. If this was a Twilight movie and Reese Witherspoon was a giant fan, then she probably would have swooned like the rest of us watching Bella and Edward fall in love. However, while there may be a bunch of women who have queued up around the block to have a chance to lock lips with Robert Pattinson in a kissing booth, seems like Reese Witherspoon would not be one of these women. The two actors who worked together on Water for Elephants back in 2011, and it seems like while their kissing scenes managed to show the right kind of emotion for the film, they were also forced, as Reese actually didn't want to kiss Robert because he had a cold during the film. It said that his cold got so bad at one point during filming that he actually had so much mucus dripping out of his nose, so no one could really argue Reese's reasons weren't valid because gross. Who would actually want to kiss someone in that state? Reese was probably trying to argue the fact that she didn't want to catch whatever Robert was suffering from, which is actually pretty understandable, and shame on the production for actually making her go through with it. Just gross. Number 7. Brad Pitt and any other actress. Brad Pitt is one of the best known actors in Hollywood thanks to his iconic dreamy roles. And while the actor has filmed some pretty daring love scenes while dating a number of different actresses, it seemed like Brad's entire outlook on life changed when he got married to Angelina Jolie. And during this period, that's probably why he was so miserable when he was with her, because she dictated his whole life. While Brad was working on the set of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Brad initially refused to kiss the stunning redhead who had been chosen specifically for that scene. The director David Fincher was stunned, and many of Brad's fans assumed that Angelina was the reason Brad hadn't wanted to do it, since he didn't want to cause any issues at home with his wife like he did when he was seeing Jennifer Aniston. Brad obviously did decide to kiss the girl in the end, but these were the first few signs that started to show that his marriage with Angelina Jolie was starting to unravel. Number 6. Lindsay Lohan and Charlie Sheen. When Lindsay Lohan and Charlie Sheen were both working together on the set of Scary Movie 5, they were part of a very famous bedroom scene, and in the scene the two were scripted to have at least 3 on-screen kisses. But Lindsay flat out refused to lock lips with the former 2.5 Men star throughout the scene. While it seems unknown why Lindsay refused to kiss Sheen, it would be reported that both stars had to sign a release that confirmed that neither of them had cold sores. Lindsay had objected the kissing part for their scene a number of times in the days leading up to filming, but it seems that the scripts weren't changed until the day before, with a body double being forced to step in for some parts while others were written out completely. Despite not wanting to get physical with her co-star, Sheen and Lohan were later reported to have become good friends, and he even gave Lindsay $100,000 to help pay off her tax bill. Number 5. Shia LaBeouf. So we all heard the rumors about Shia LaBeouf's behavior on the set of Don't Worry Darling, while Olivia Wilde has claimed that Shia was making Florence Pugh feel uncomfortable while they were filming scenes due to his odd behavior on set. Shia would quickly deny Olivia's claims and say that he actually quit the film, which would cause Olivia to come out and double down on her claims that she fired him by saying, "My responsibility was towards her. I'm like a mother wolf. Making the call was tricky, but in a way, he understood. I don't think it would have been a process he enjoyed. He comes to his work with intensity that can be combative." While Olivia went on to note that she would love love to see Shai evolve. She would also say that Shai is a great loss to the film industry because he's so incredibly talented and he's unable to work due to his poor behavior. Later, Olivia would even address Shai's behavior by saying, "He has a process in some ways, seems to require combative energy, and I don't personally believe that it is conductive to the best performances." Number 4, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase used to be one of the busiest and best loved comedy actors around. However, somewhere along the lines, the tides would turn after he burned multiple bridges and became difficult and combative to work with. While Chase is known for being portrayed as a nice guy, behind the scenes, Chase has a reputation as being one of the least pleasant men in Hollywood to work with. The problem, according to his peers, is that Chase is very difficult to be around because you don't know what to expect when it comes to the star's actions. When the star decided to return to SNL after leaving, he ruffled everyone's feathers in the process. What made matters worse is that the actor even directed his brand of cruel humor at Terry Sweeney, who was SNL's first openly gay casted member, and by all accounts, Chase threw a slew of homophobic jokes surrounding Terry. Then after Chase was forced to apologize to Sweeney, Terry would say, "He was really furious that he had to apologize to me, and it was just awful. He acted horrible to me. He acted horribly to everyone." And while many fans and crew members and co-stars have called out the actor on his poor behavior, it's clear that the actor doesn't even care, and he's even stated so. Number 3, Cameron Diaz. While Cameron Diaz became a rising star thanks to her role in the film Charlie's Angels, the star's air-rising antics have cemented a reputation of the actress as being a spoiled star. While Cameron was working on the film Sweetest Thing, a source would claim that Cameron became so demanding that she needed her underarm shaved, and she even had her personal assistant do it when they said she noticed between takes that she had some underarm stubble. Instead of going back to her trailer, to shave it herself, she lifts her arms high in the air and made her assistant do the demanding task right there in front of 200 extras. The source would then even claim that while filming, the actor messed up an easy line in a script 20 times just because she didn't like the scene. And after she kicked up a fuss to the director, she was able to get the line changed, and then she bragged to her co-stars on set that she knew the director would do it her way. Number 2, Joaquin Phoenix. When Joaquin Phoenix made an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, things would get incredibly awkward after Joaquin talked about how much fun he had on the set. Jimmy then decided to surprise the actor with a blooper that was sent over by director Todd Phillips that would show that the film was everything but a good time. In the video, it would show Joaquin cursing out the Joker cinematographer Lauren Scher while trying to film a scene. In the video, you would see Joaquin saying, "Just the constant whisper. Just shut the F up, dude. I know you started the effing Cher thing. Larry, you think it's so effing funny making fun of me. I'm an effing diva. It's not even an insult. Cher, really? She's a single actor, dance, fashion icon. How is that an effing insult? I can't do this, man." The actor was then visibly shaken by seeing the footage broadcasted on national TV, and it's clear that he thought he would get away with his poor behavior, but then he got called out by Jimmy Kimmel. Joaquin would then note that he was embarrassed by his actions, and sometimes movies get intense because you're a lot of people in a small place trying to find something so it can feel intense. And coming in number 1 today, we have Lindsay Lohan. When Lindsay Lohan was working on the set of Glee, her second day on the set wouldn't go down as the star's finest hour. Sources on the set would then give E! News exclusive details about Lindsay's guest appearance, which would include the actress being incredibly late to the set, and the production even had to send out a car to pick her up and bring her to the set. A source would then even say Lindsay was a total nightmare yesterday, as she was 3 hours late in the morning, and when she did finally arrive, she didn't want to be there, she did not want to work, and she had not memorized her lines, and she kept disappearing so no one could find her. E! News would also then claim that the crew members on the set were so less than thrilled by Lindsay's antics that they even gave her the nickname of that girl, for adding that she rubbed them all up the wrong way by being disrespectful to everyone else's schedules. Coming in number 10 today, we have Will Smith. If you're a fan of the show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then you know that Janet Hubert, who played the beloved character Aunt Viv, mysteriously vanished from the show at the end of season 3. And then in an interview with Atlanta radio station in 1993, Will Smith would try to call out his co-star by saying, "I can't say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show, because I know she's going to dog me in the press. She has basically gone from $250,000 a year to nothing. She's mad now, but she's been mad all along. She said once, I've been in the business for 10 years and this snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show. No matter what, to her, I'm just the Antichrist." Then later, Janet would come out to criticize the show, and she would express her dislike for Will Smith by explaining how difficult he is to work with on set, and she even swore that she would never appear in a reunion episode when she said, "There will never be a reunion with an a-hole like Will Smith. He is still an egomaniac and he has not grown up. This constant reunion thing will never happen in my lifetime unless there is an apology," which he doesn't know the word for. Number 9. Emma Roberts. Back in 2013, Star Magazine would report that Emma Roberts was a nightmare to work with on the set of the show American Horror Story. Emma, who played a movie star named Madison on the program, allegedly on season 3, the star's behavior has become so intolerable that her co-star and actress Gabourey Sidibe, who played Queenie, called Roberts out for her odd behavior by telling the actress to cut her attitude and stop being rude. An insider would then also tell the magazine that Emma's behavior was so bad she even started to act like she was above everyone else on the set, and the magazine would also state that the feud between the two actresses erupted due to Emma's diva-like behavior on the set, as Emma was complaining about the tiniest things and she even refused to speak to certain crew members. While it seems like Emma was on the outs with one of her co-stars and some of the crew members, she was getting along well with the creator, writer, and producer Ryan Murphy. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Millie Bobby Brown. Back in July, Millie Bobby Brown started to make headlines everywhere after she decided to diss the Stranger Things writers in an interview with The Wrap. In the interview, Millie would discuss her interests in some of the gruesome changes occurring within the Stranger Things universe. One particular change would involve the show's creators getting rid of main characters by making them pass away, as Millie believes the cast of the characters has grown too much throughout the run of the series. And when she was looking around at the 4th season's premiere, she noted she didn't realize how large the cast had gotten. She also added that she thinks the show's creators are too sensitive to get rid of characters before she stated, "We need to have a mindset of Game of Thrones. Kill me off. They tried killing David off, and then they brought him back." The Duffer Brothers then responded to Millie's statement of calling them sensitive Sallys by saying that she was hilarious, before adding that they explored all options in the writing room and they don't want to make their show depressing. Number 7, Johnny Depp. After Amber Heard destroyed Johnny Depp's career, after he won his life back in 2022, you would think the actor would be on his best behavior. However, before his trial, there has been reports that Johnny had really odd behavior on set. And back in December, it would be reported that during the filming of Jean de Barry, where he plays Louis XV, Depp was extremely rude towards the director and co-star Maïwenn Lebasco. And actor Bernard Montiel would be the one to disclose the rumors during a French talk show called Don't Touch My TV Set back in October. The actor would reveal that Johnny and the director clashed throughout the entire set, and that Johnny had been reportedly falling back into his old habits by saying, "I've heard some noise from the shoot, very serious stuff." So Depp is an excellent actor when he comes on set, except sometimes at 6 in the morning the crew is ready and nobody turns up. So of course Maïwenn, who is the director, gets angry, and the next day she's the one who doesn't turn up. And then you got Johnny and she's not there. It's finished over this week, but it's going very, very badly. They don't get along at all and they're screaming at each other the whole time. Number 6, Amber Heard. It's clear that the word celebrity has definitely gotten to Amber Heard's head, because while she was in the UK filming the scene for a crime thriller called London Fields, it said that the actor threw a huge tantrum on the set that brought the production to a temporary standstill. A source would then tell the Daily Mail that there were some people watching the shoot outside. Then Amber came out to film and the actress got visibly upset about the onlookers, particularly at an individual who was watching. The source then said right in the middle of the scene, she stopped and said, "How am I supposed to do this when all I can see is that guy in my eye line?" Then after Amber was done throwing her tantrum, the crew was forced to set up a screen so Amber could film her scene without any distractions.
Number 5. Nicolas Cage. Nick Cage is the most unhinged man in Hollywood history. What's odd about Nick is that despite his erratic behavior and larger-than-life persona, he's actually a relatively tame man in real life. But he's not known to be a massive party boy or partake in or illegal substances, but his behavior on set and on screen would suggest otherwise. Nick is one of those people who takes their roles too far and makes everyone else on set just uncomfortable because of their antics. For many roles over the years, he's done everything from eat cockroaches, had his teeth pulled out, he's fought snakes, and he even kept a fellow performer intoxicated in his trailer just to gain tips from him while filming. Whenever he's asked about his methods over the years, he's claimed that everything he's done is in pursuit of the project. The goal is to deliver the best performance possible by whatever means necessary. Okay, well that might be a good answer, but just watch his movies over the years. He's played every character under the sun: cops, superheroes, journalists, treasure hunters, pinball enthusiasts, and now he's Dracula. He's under the impression that he's the greatest and most versatile actor of all time, when in reality it just feels like he's been meditating for 5 straight years and somebody just blew a bullhorn in his face. Number 4. Taylor Lautner. Taylor started popping up in movies in 2005. He was so young and full of life. His first jobs were playing Shark Boy in the Robert Rodriguez flick Shark Boy and Lava Girl, as well as Elliot Murtaugh in the sequel to the comedy classic Cheaper by the Dozen. I love that movie so much. As he matured, so did his roles, eventually landing him in the spot of Jacob Black in the Twilight series alongside Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. Overall, the Twilight series is just difficult to watch, but Taylor's delivery is the hardest to sit through of them all. Jacob is meant to be a wolf, strong and commanding, but the on-screen turn felt whiny and sad. Following the end of that series, Taylor received a handful of roles in projects varying from big budget to Adam Sandler asked me to do this one. That was in fact his last big role, starring as one of the titular Ridiculous Six in Adam Sandler's first Netflix outing. If you forgot that movie existed, good. Keep it that way. Taylor's acting hasn't improved over the years, but he is currently attempting to make a name for himself in the world of streaming. Somebody do a Twilight series with this man involved, please. Number 3. Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester knocked his way through the world of Hollywood in the 1970s, starring as the titular fighter Rocky in the franchise of the same name. While this man has gone on to star in action flick after action flick, we can agree that it's basically the same flick, right? In Rocky, he plays a brooding boxer. In Rambo, he plays a brooding Marine. In Expendables, he plays himself, which is basically a brooding Marine. Do you see the pattern? People always praise Sly for his chops on screen, but the man has no chops. If you put every poster with his face on it side by side, you would swear it's the same picture just aged up over and over and over again. While he may not be in the mainstream as much these days, he does still get work, even appearing as Starhawk in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise as, guess what, a brooding space pirate. Regardless of what role he's in, we're certain his last words on screen will be Number 2. John Travolta. Well, I've got chills, ooh, and I think it's because I'm about to talk about John Travolta. John has gone down in musical history as the man behind the black leather and hair gel in the musical Grease from 1978. Thanks to the success of the film, John was offered multiple big budget roles over the next 20 years, appearing in movies like Pulp Fiction, Face Off, and he even made a brief return to the musical world when he played the role of Tina Turnblad in the 2007 film adaptation of Hairspray. That role is what first caught most people's eye though as the example to why this man might be a rough actor. His performances have been stiff over the years, with him pretending to be Nick Cage pretending to be himself in Face Off being the best performance he's delivered so far. A prime example of John's terrible talents is in the sci-fi trash bag Battlefield Earth, in which he plays an alien security chief that looks like John Travolta and a predator had a baby. The style of the film is bad enough, but it's the fact that John wrote, produced, and stars in the flick that earned him a place on this list. He literally had every single say in what the final product of the film would be, and it still turned into a flaming pile of space dung. And at number 1, Jared Leto. Jared is an interesting fella. He started his own religious group, he brings a new meaning to the word method acting, and let's just face it, this guy sucks. As an actor, Jared has attempted to portray many characters over the years with minimal love. He tried to play Marvel villain Morbius in a solo flick and that flopped. His role in Blade Runner 2049? And let's talk about Joker for a second. Over the past few years, reports from Jared's fellow actors have been anything but positive. During his time as the Joker, he left his castmates use adult devices, pig heads, and live snakes in their trailers as so-called gifts. He was trying to stay method as the Joker, but anyone on the receiving end of those gifts probably wish that he would just stop immediately and relax. On top of that, he's been known to stay in character, meaning that if he's playing someone angry or silent, and that's how he is the entire time. This guy hasn't really been questioned for his actions at any point in his career, only being called a weirdo, and we're just gonna leave it at that, you know? With his career still going steady, he seems to have decided to take the CGI route and have his face transformed into a ghostly ghoul in the new Haunted Mansion movie set to release this summer. So here's hoping it's his last performance and he stays a ghost.
Coming in number 10 today, we have Megan Fox. Back in 2009, Transformers star Megan Fox would be branded as dumb, ungracious, rude, and an unbearable actress by crew members of the multi-million-dollar film franchise. As soon as the actor came out to diss the director, Michael Bay, by claiming that he objectified her on the set, the furious crew members who have stayed anonymous would post a long open letter to Megan on the director's official website and signed it as the loyal Transformers crew. In it, they tore into Megan as they labeled her as a second-rate Angelina Jolie who was disliked across the set by her diva-like behavior. The letter has since been removed from the site, but not before thousands of fans saw it. In the letter, the crew would claim that Michael made Megan the next Angelina Jolie, but as time went on, the crew noticed that she was no Angelina because Angelina was professional and Megan was as dumb as a rock in both Transformers movies. The crew also went on to call her the grump of the set and claimed that she was the most ungracious person anyone could ever fathom. While the crew tried to welcome her, she just became really rude and later twisted the story when she was fired from the set for her poor behavior. Coming at number 9, we have Tom Cruise. Since 2019, film sets have had some pretty strict guidelines to protect everyone working on the set, and while many people were stuck inside, the entertainment industry was the only thing keeping people's hopes and spirits alive. So it was pretty understandable when Tom Cruise caught members of the Mission Impossible 7 set messing around. He expressed his frustrations, but the way he chose to do it was a little out there and really improper. As first reported by The Sun, after Cruise saw two of the members standing too close to one another in front of a computer screen, he told the crew, "If I see you do it again, you're effing gone." In the audio obtained by The Sun, Cruise could be heard saying, "We are the gold standard. They're back there in Hollywood making movies right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. I'm on the phone with every effing studio at night, insurance companies, producers, and they're looking at us and using us to make their movies. We are creating thousands of jobs, you mother effers. I don't ever want to see it again, ever." Cruise took the 2019 situation seriously, and that's why he was so strict about enforcing the guidelines on set and scowled the crew for taking advantage of the safe environment that the team in place helped create. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, Lea Michele. It seems like Lea Michele was such a complete diva on the set of Glee that she had zero respect when it came to her cast and crew members. The actor who has been at the center of racism after she was called out by former co-star Samantha Ware on Twitter, Ima Edwards, who was featured in the 6th season on the series, then come out to say that she heard from multiple people that Lea called extras cockroaches behind the scenes. While Lea went on to treat many of her co-stars and crew members poorly, they would even describe working with Lea was like working in their own personal hell, and it really made them question their jobs in the entertainment industry. It's also been said that Michelle even treated the crew members poorly, as she would micromanage the set and tell people how to do their jobs, and she would even throw tantrums and hold sets up for hours, forcing crew and co-stars to work long-hour days. Number 7, Christian Bale. During the production of the 2009 sequel Terminator Salvation film, lead actor Christian Bale would be caught on tape having a meltdown. Just a few months after the film debuted, the audio recording would surface, and it was clear that it was made without the actor's knowledge, as he was shocked to know he was exposed by an unnamed person on the set. In the audio, Christian could be heard going off on the film's cinematographer Shane Hurlbut, who had walked onto the scene to check a light during the filming of a scene. This apparently was the second time that he had done it, and Bale became incensed, hitting Shane with a handful of F-bombs as he threatened to smash his lighting equipment if he did it one more time. What made matters worse is that Christian even threatened to quit the film if Shane committed this offense one more time without being fired. For Shane, on his part, he was very apologetic, but then again, he couldn't get into a shouting match with the film star and not get fired. Christian would then later come out apologizing for the incident, but the two haven't worked on the same project project since. Number 6. Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was at the height of her career when she joined Grey's Anatomy. However, after she decided to leave the show, it seems like the star would find herself blacklisted from sets due to her poor behavior. With cast and crew members back in 2007, Katherine would badmouth her own movie Knocked Up, which would prove that she was really hard to work with. However, it wouldn't be until 2008 when Katherine would really burn all her bridges in Hollywood after she was nominated for an Emmy and withdrew her name for consideration because she felt like the Grey's Anatomy season didn't give her enough material to be nominated. She would then come out to say in a statement that she didn't feel like she was given enough material to warrant an Emmy nomination. In an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, she was withdrawing her name and the whole world would be shocked. But an Emmy nomination is an Emmy, and if you feel like you aren't given enough material, you still take the nomination because sometimes these nominations only come around once in your lifetime, and some people never even find themselves being nominated. Since the Grey's Anatomy creator Shonda Rhimes has been greatly offended, and fans have been totally turned off by Katherine's behavior, as Shonda worked really hard for her show and this Emmy nomination was a big deal.
Number 5. Tom Cruise in The Mummy. The first movie starring a mummified monster came in 1932's The Mummy. The concept was an ancient mummified corpse is brought back to life by ancient magic and begins terrorizing the nearby archaeologists. While the original hasn't really held up to today's standards, a solid trilogy of films were released back between 1999 and 2008, starring Canadian treasure Brendan Fraser as the leading man Rick O'Connell. The movies were a hit and are now considered by many people to be cult classics. It was kind of strange then when it was announced that the series was going to get a reboot as part of the Universal Studios' new Monsterverse project. They intended to reboot every major horror icon from the 30s and 40s. Dracula, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, everyone's coming back, baby. And to kick things off, they got Tom Cruise to lead The Mummy. Now, while Tom is no stranger to being a leading man, being the face of the Mission Impossible franchise, this was a massive misstep in casting. Not only was his performance bland and lifeless, Cruise himself tampered with the script and character development on set and accidentally made the movie even more boring than it already probably was. For a movie called The Mummy, we spent almost 2 hours with Tom and like 30 minutes with the Mummy herself. The entire project evolved into an attempt at another franchise for Tom to dominate, but instead, the movie received such poor reviews that it resulted in the entire Monsterverse project being shut down. Good job, Tom. Number 4. Topher Grace as Venom. Spider-Man has been rebooted into a live-action series 3 times now, including the weird Japanese Spider-Man version from 1978, which was essentially just Power Rangers. One of the most iconic portrayals of Spider-Man in any medium is Tobey Maguire's stint as Peter Parker from 2010 to 2007. He played Spider-Man over the course of 3 movies, with various celebrities playing his villainous counterparts. The elites included Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, but guess what? Oh, in the 3rd movie, someone had an awesome idea to give Spider-Man 3 villains to fight at once. And one of them was going to be the legendary comic book baddie Venom. In the comics, Venom is an alien symbiote that latches onto a host, usually drawn as like a big jock type. Well, director Sam Raimi said, you know what? You know who would make a really good Venom? You know who would make a really scary Venom? If we get the guy who played Eric from that 70s show. Yeah, Topher Grace was hired as the big baddie Venom, and he did a job. While in the Venom suit, he was just obnoxious and overly confident. He thought he was clever and suave, but it really just came across as weaselly and creepy. Anytime he was trying to be intimidating, he just sounded like a kid pretending to fight crime in his bedroom. Since Tom Hardy took over the role in 2018, longtime Spider-Man fans have come down even harder on Grace, as Tom Hardy reinvented the character and did it so well. Number 3. Mike Myers as Cat in the Hat. Alright, I want to start off by saying I personally enjoyed this movie, but as many of my friends know, I love terrible movies. So here we go. The Cat in the Hat was a children's book published in 1957 and written by Dr. Seuss, aka Theodore Seuss. His books were often adapted into short cartoon films, with the most famous one being The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, starring the acclaimed horror icon Boris Karloff as the titular Grinch. However, cartoon briefly shifted to live action, gifting us with Jim Carrey's iconic turn as the Grinch, and of course, our next entry on this list, Mike Myers as the titular cat in Cat in the Hat. Mike was well known for his role on Saturday Night Live, as well as his successful comedy career starring in cult classics like Wayne's World and the Austin Powers franchise. People were initially excited to see what Myers would bring to the wild world of Dr. Seuss, and it turns out that he brought fart jokes, adult innuendos, and a Boston accent for some reason. The film was critically panned for Myers portraying the cat in an overtly adult fashion when the movie is supposed to be aimed at a younger audience. The cat went to an underground nightclub. He did a quick sponsorship ad for Universal Studios, and he even gets hit in the no-no zone with a baseball bat. Seriously, who read this script and gave him permission to make that? It's like Mike just walked on set one day dressed as a big cat, and people were like, well, he seems to know what he's doing, let's just let him go. Let him do his thing. Number 2, Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in a Shell. Scarlett Johansson is not a bad actor by any means. She's delivered some very impressive performances over the years, with roles in films like Her and Lost in Translation. But one thing she can do without question is kick major butt. Throughout her career, Scarlett has appeared in several action blockbusters, including the flick Lucy from 2014, as well as her iconic role as Black Widow in the Marvel Universe. It makes sense that in 2017, Scarlett would be offered a role in the live-action adaptation of Ghost in the Shell, which was a popular anime action series. The film follows Scarlett as Major Mira Killian, as the first of her kind, a human that has died and been reborn with cybernetic enhancements to become the ultimate soldier. The movie was critically panned by audiences for its inclusion of Scarlett in the main role, as the anime featured prominently Asian voice actors and characters. Many felt that she was just another example of Hollywood whitewashing and felt the role should have gone to an actual Asian actor and not just the biggest name that would sell the most tickets. And they were probably right about that because her performance was stiff and lifeless. The script was rough to say the least, and the backlash tinted the overall energy of the movie, which ultimately became a flop. And number 1, everybody in The Last Airbender. If you're a fan of the Avatar: The Last Airbender show, the original show, which first aired on Nickelodeon in 2005, followed a young man named Aang, also known as the Airbender. In this world, people are divided into 4 nations: the Water Tribe, the Earth Kingdom, the Fire Nation, and the Air Nomads. Aang was adorable and fun. His character was full of heart, and all he wanted to do in the world was be good and realize his full potential as the master of the elements, and he had some pretty cool friends to come with him along the way. It was kind of exciting when a live-action adaptation of the series was going to hit theaters in 2010. The film was being directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who had just come off of a string of successful horror and thriller titles, and it made people curious as to what the final product might look like. But what we ended up getting was just wrong. It's all wrong. Not only was the script a pile of garbage, but the casting choices were ridiculous. Avatar is the prime example of whitewashing a property. The cast is lacking in diversity, and the people that they chose to portray the iconic characters were terrible. Katara and Sokka were basically just there to take from place to place. That's right, they changed the main character's name to the sound that a cat makes when it's trying to throw up. Himself went from being a fun and likable kid to kind of an annoying and whiny one. Every time he begins to speak, we just want to snap our fingers and wake up in front of the TV on a Saturday morning. Oh, Nickelodeon, I miss you.